everybody. Welcome to the Grow My Officiant Business podcast and YouTube channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, I'm talking to Keith Carson, the gentleman who wrote the foreword in my new wedding business marketing book, and this conversation is fantastic. Don't miss out on this episode. This may be a two-parter, and if it is, keep on listening because the information you're going to hear is so valuable. He talks about marketing. He talks about business. He talks about the whole gamut of the wedding industry and being a wedding officiant. So don't miss out on that. Another thing is Keith is a very savvy business owner. He does this full time. He's done it for more than a decade. So you'll want to listen closely, take notes, and I hope you enjoy.
A wedding and often does. But I did not know until I read this, like I said, a year and a half, 2 years ago, that it said 52% of weddings are officiated by a friend or a family member. That means the majority of weddings are done by someone other than a professional. So, and that's important because that's a lot where the horror stories come from. A venue I went to, and I showed up and I greeted the owner, and she just looked at me and said, "Oh, thank God it's you." And I said, "Well, thanks. It's nice to be here. And why that kind of greeting?" And she said, "Well, we had a wedding here last weekend, and the wedding officiant was a friend of the bride and groom, had never done a wedding before, was a complete nervous wreck." And she said, "How did he handle it? He went straight to the bar and proceeded to get, pretty well intoxicated, and then went to do the wedding ceremony." So what people have to understand is that we're already being thought of negatively in a lot of circumstances, not because of the professionals, but because of those 52%. Yeah. I've seen videos online where couples, at least in this state, are not legally married because the officiant missed one of the three required segments of a ceremony to be legally married. And you think about it, it's just like two videos I just happen to see. I'm sure if I searched, I would probably find hundreds of people that are not legally married. So, you've already got kind of this negative stereotype view of you because of horror stories. Don't make it worse.
That's so funny that we went down this lane. I did a training last week, and there was, 18 people there. And the whole training was focused on how there are two tiers. There are more people in tier one that are not professional. And then there's a small percentage of the people in the second tier that actually treat it like a business. And it's not hard to stick out like a sore thumb either way. You just have to choose how much effort do I want to put in, or how lazy do I want to be. It's a scary thing. It really is.
Yeah.
But for those, go ahead.
I tell people all the time, DJs, for example, I'll see people post online, "I'm looking for an affordable DJ." I don't know what affordable means. What's affordable to one person is not to another, and vice versa. I mean, you're better off putting a budget range or dollar range. But I'll private message them and say, "Listen, I just want to share this with you. I am not a DJ. But here's what's going to happen at your wedding. You're going to look beautiful. Okay, the groom is going to look handsome. The food will be fantastic. The decorations, will be nice. But the only thing people will remember when they leave your wedding is, did I have a good time?" And that falls squarely on the DJ.
Yeah.
And today, anybody can go out and buy a computer program, and some speakers, and call themselves a DJ, just like anybody can buy a camera and call themselves a photographer, or anybody can go online and become ordained and call themselves a wedding officiant. But here's what I always say. I can't go to the store and buy a stethoscope and call myself a doctor. So you've got to do your homework. Just because they're calling themselves that doesn't mean they're any good.
Yeah.
And just because they're the cheapest, doesn't mean they're even remotely good.
So I want to bring up for those people who are treating this like a business, and this will be going out to people who own venues and wedding planners. But one of the things that's kind of the same, no matter what niche you're in, is trying to find couples who are qualified, because a lot of times there are couples, like you said, they want the cheapest of the cheap. They want to dollar you, every little bit of the way. So what is something that you can offer people some advice on how to find qualified clients, or at least qualify them?
One of the things I insist on, and I really tell couples that it's in their best interest. I insist on some sort of an interview process.
Mm-hmm.
I'll meet them anywhere, in person. We can meet at my office. We can meet at coffee shop, whatever the case may be, or we can do it via Zoom, or we can do it over the phone. But I want to find out what their expectations are. If they know, oftentimes they don't know. You get a couple that has never been married before, and they don't know what they're looking for in a wedding officiant or any other wedding vendor. Or it could even be a couple that has been married before, but it'd been so long they forgot all of that. So I want to find out what it is that they're looking for. I want to ask some key questions to help me decide if I'm the right fit for them, and help them decide if I'm the right fit for them as well. I offer one package. It's just a quick legal only ceremony. Contains three elements that the state requires. Do you agree to marry this person? Do you agree to marry this person? Repeat after me vows. I pronounce you, and that's it. And I had more people trying to take advantage of that. I'd show up and there's 35 people there, and they're pulling out the rings and all this other stuff. And I actually had to go on my website and put all kinds of little asterisks and disclaimers. This package does not include, a ring exchange. This package is not eligible for any add-ons, and then in the email that I'll eventually send them with the contract, just a reminder, you chose the package that and doesn't include this, this, and this. And it's helped a lot. But that interview really helps as well. And I knock on wood, I've got to say, in all the years I've been doing this, I have never had a bridezilla or a groomzilla. I have worked
Wow.
with some of the most, I probably just jinxed myself, but I've worked with some of the most amazing couples ever. But I think it has a lot to do with that whole interview, becoming comfortable with each other, and then really providing great customer service. I'm not one of these that I book you and your wedding's a year from now and you never hear from me. And you wonder if I'm still alive. I'm communicating regularly and updating things and asking questions and things like that. So I tell them that I just want you to show up and have a good time, and I'll get you through it. And I want you to remember your wedding ceremony for the rest of your life for all the right reasons.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so I keep spreadsheets and calendar reminders, and I have layers upon layers to remind me to do things so that people and couples don't fall through the cracks, because that's my biggest fear. I don't know about you, but sometimes I stay awake at
Yeah.
night going, God, did I put all the couples' weddings on my calendar? And
Yeah.
years ago, I made a mistake. On Sunday, every Sunday I religiously would look at the calendar on my phone, and I would check, from Sunday through Saturday to see what I've got coming up. Make sure I'm all prepared. I've printed scripts. I've keepsake certificates, everything I need to do. And but that was a big mistake because one Sunday morning, I woke up and sitting here and enjoying nice breakfast and watching some show on Sunday morning, and the alarm on my phone goes off to tell me that in 2 hours I have the Smith and Jones wedding.
Oh my goodness.
I flew out of my chair, raced to the shower, got dressed, printed and ran out the door and made it in time. They thought that, I was just totally prepared because I got there in plenty of, I think I got there with 30 minutes to go, and I normally try to get there within an hour. But I learned because I was checking Sunday through Saturday. So by the time I might check on Sunday, this happened to be an early morning. I want to say it was a 10 a.m. wedding on a Sunday morning at a state park. And I would not look at my calendar until later. So now I look from Sunday to Sunday. So, but it's one of the reasons why I set my alarm for 2 hours prior as opposed to 1 hour.
So good.
Hopefully it's not a long list, but that I don't ever want to miss anybody's wedding. I don't ever want to forget anything. And again, it's part of being a professional.
Yeah. Do you just off the top of my head, do you use any type of software or scheduling software? Do you just use like a planner?
I use an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
I keep track of the couple, the date, the total amount, the retainer, when the retainer was paid, when I sent them my questionnaire, when the questionnaire was returned, when the script was written, when the script was approved, when the balance was paid. It goes all the way straight through to follow-up. And that follow-up is both an email thanking them with links on how to leave reviews, and then also a handwritten thank you note.
Yeah, so I asked that question because I talk about a lot. I talk about systems, and I tell people, I'm a big proponent of HoneyBook. I use software. A lot of people use nothing. They use a spreadsheet. But it doesn't matter what you use. You need a system. You need something to go by in a system, and you just proved that you are not using a software, and you still have this very creative, direct system where you can keep track of every single thing on a spreadsheet. Go ahead.
Bottom line is you're right. I mean, you have to use something, but all it has to be is what works for you.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I have the wedding on the calendar, any important dates, rehearsals, whatever it is, meetings on my calendar on my phone, which backs up to the cloud, which syncs with my laptop computer. So again, redundancy. If one thing crashes, I have it somewhere else. One of the things that I do is, so I have a wedding coming up here in just a couple of days. Once that script is approved, I take it and I'll either put it in my Dropbox app or Google Docs, so it's on my phone. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One, I mean, let's just say on the off chance I'm on my way to the wedding and I get in an accident and I'm not going to make it. I have that script electronically and I can email it to somebody, whether it's my emergency backup. I also tell the couple, since they approve the script, to make sure they print out a copy and have it with them.
Yeah. And
you can get anybody to read it, and we'll worry about making it legal, later on. But
right.
But I've got redundancy, so I'm again, expect the best, prepare for the worst.
That's such a good piece of advice. I think a lot of people, they'll print it out, they'll have it in a notebook, or they'll have it on their Kindle or iPad. And then if their iPad battery dies, or their Kindle battery dies, or they forget their notebook on top of their car and it's gone, you have no script. So worst case scenario, you could read off your phone if you had to.
Yeah. And for years I've thought geez, should I go to a Kindle? Should I use my iPad? But as you just pointed out, it's electronics.
Yeah.
It can fail. So I would be bringing a printed script regardless,
Yeah.
anyway. So I stick to printed scripts because that's what works for me.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing. I have now. My main source is off my Kindle, the one that it doesn't have reflection. I like using it, but then I have a printed copy that I always carry with me, and I have had my Kindle at the last minute go bloop. Nope, I'm not working, and I get my printed copy out, and I'm fine. As long as you've got the redundancy, you're good.
Yeah, I even bring I carry a wedding, what I call a wedding day emergency kit.
I love this.
And I mean, it has, you name it, it's in there. But one of the things that's in there is a book light. Because I've had more than one, but I added this after this one wedding where the weather was just really kind of looking ugly outside. And at the last minute, the venue and the couple said, you know what, let's move it inside. So we moved it inside, and Chad, it was so dark
Oh
where
man.
the ceremony was, I could not see the words on the page. I mean, it was that
Wow.
dark. And I took out my phone and I turned on the flashlight and I used that, and I realized that my hands just kind of going back and forth
Right.
to be able to see. Well, now I carry a very low profile book light.
That's so
So
smart.
just in case of anything. And I've used it, I don't know, I probably used it a half a dozen times. One venue in particular where they realized that at their arch they didn't really have much in the way of lighting, and this venue contact the person from the venue. Um, I don't know why she felt that every ceremony needed to look like the prom. I mean, it was so dark with twinkling lights, and even the wedding party standing there going, it's kind of dark in here.
Why is it
So
so dark?
I would use it there, and then I had a word with her, and they put up a little spotlight up there that shined
Oh my
straight down.
gosh.
Problem solved. And she used to say that's what the couple wanted. They wanted it that they didn't. So,
Right.
but again, things are going to happen that you're not necessarily prepared for. So learn from it and be prepared for it the next time. And my wedding day emergency kit is helped me countless times. Not just things with me, but I mean, I carry wedding rings in, I think, 6 or 7 different sizes.
That's awesome.
I mean, everything, lint brush, toothbrush, toothpaste, razor, shaving cream, water, Gatorade, sewing kits. I even started carrying a wireless lapel mic because I got tired of DJs putting a stand with a microphone that photographers hate,
Oh, yeah.
or having to hold that microphone like this and turn pages.
Yep.
I'm like, here you go, plug this into your system. Boom, we're good to go.
That's a great idea. I mean, that's a really good idea. I have done that before too, because I hate when I hate when they hand me a mic and I'm trying to, I'd like both hands, and I'm expressive anyway. So I think
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
yeah. And I've had great DJs that have said, here's a lapel mic and here's a handheld mic. Just put it in your back pocket in case.
Yeah. See,
There's a DJ that's thinking that something could go wrong. It's a fresh battery, but
yeah. Well, this whole thing, this whole emergency kit, I hope everybody on Grow My Wedding Business that is not an officiant, it is still a great idea. I think venues should have everything that you can think of for bride and grooms. I think that photographers should carry it. I mean, it just elevates you as a professional, and it makes you the superhero if something goes wrong. And,
and it's a marketing tool.
it is
I,
absolutely.
I know in my area, I can honestly say I am the only wedding officiant that carries a wedding day emergency kit.
Yeah.
when that's one of those things, like I said, when I go to visit that venue and tell them a little bit about things, I have the kit with me. I
Yeah.
can show them, what I carry. They look at that and say, this guy's 100% professional. You know,
Yeah.
when when it goes to that expense and that type of dedication to put this thing together and take it everywhere. I've had wedding planners say, your kit makes mine look sad.
Yeah.
So, but use it as a marketing tool.
And when a bride and groom sees that on your website, they're like, "Whoa, he's above everybody else I've been looking at. I don't ever heard of this." So,
Yeah, and I've had it. I've had people, forget the rings. I can't tell you how many best men I've had that have done stupid things. Oh, let me fool around and, I'm gonna, drop the ring in the water, or
yeah,
it slips down between the slats in the dock, or they just drop it in the grass and nobody can find it, because the grass is so thick, and somebody had to come back later with a metal detector.
so yeah, I do a lot of beach weddings, and the same thing. If you drop it in the sand and move the sand, it's done. You got to have a metal detector. So,
Yeah.
such a good idea. The last thing I want to talk about, I think everybody that I talk to has the same question, and we started with this. I think I kind of want to end with it. You talked about income, how much income you've made. You said, I've got a nice property. I do this full time. I live in a house. You obviously pay all of your bills from your officiant business income. So it's obvious you're not making $10,000 or $15,000 a year. You're making a full time income. And
Correct.
people, for some reason, are just like, I don't know how I'm going to break into this. What are some things that people that are just getting started, no matter if they're an officiant, a photographer, somebody that's trying to break into the industry, what are some things they can do or put in place to reach those income goals? Or how do they set goals? What are some things they can do?
I mean, I look at this and say you get out of it what you put into it. I say that all the time. I probably said it. I said it earlier. So you've got to be out there knocking on doors. If you're a new whatever, how about shadowing another well-respected whatever photographer, florist, wedding officiant, whatever the case may be, and shadow them and learn from them. Make sure that you understand your business inside and out. I can tell you, I don't spend not $1 on advertising.
Wow.
Not
Yeah.
not $1. People say, oh, Facebook ads and things like that. I mean, I could do Facebook ads, but in a way I do. I create beautiful ads. I use a program called Canva that many people are familiar with. And I turn out incredibly, very professional ads. And I've joined probably 30 plus Facebook groups that are, either this particular county or this city or wedding related to couples. And again, I use another spreadsheet, and I list all those pages that I belong to, the date that I posted on their page, and which particular ad that I used. And if they have rules, like some of them, you can only post once a week. Some you can only post on Fridays or Thursdays or whatever it is. So I'm not doing anything to get myself thrown out of this group. I'm adhering to the rules. And then religiously on my calendar, once a month, it will remind me or more to go on these different groups and post an ad. And I've been contacted by couples that have booked me through that ad that they've seen. I've been contacted by venues and other wedding vendors who have seen that. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do for free that will get you business. I'm not saying you shouldn't spend any money. I just find that I don't have to, because everything I'm doing works. Again, works for me. But you really have to put the effort into it. The more I found this out, with those first 6 venues that I visited and walked out on the preferred vendor list. I realized that, well, if it worked here, it's going to work again, and it's going to work, and it has consistently worked. So figure out what works for you, find out that formula, and do it. Put it to work. But if you think that you're just going to sit around and stare at your phone and wait for it to ring just because you have a website or a Facebook page or you're on Instagram or whatever, will it get you some business? Absolutely. Will it get you the business you want to do this full time? Not a chance in the world.
Yeah. That's really good advice. And then before we go, the last thing I'm going to ask every guest that I have on this question: if you were a business coach, you've been doing this a long time. If you were a business coach and you had wedding entrepreneurs sitting in front of you, or you had one student that was a wedding entrepreneur, they wanted to get into this field and they wanted to start a business that was going to take off, what would you tell them to do next week? What is that first big step that you would tell them to do?
That's really a good question.
And if you have to think about it, we can edit that out. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would really tell people, I think my number one piece of advice is to take your time. Don't rush into this. What's that expression? You have one chance to make a good first impression. And it's true. And if you go to a venue or whatever, or you put an ad out there, or you pick the wrong name or the wrong logo, or whatever the case may be, people are going to, remember that. So take your time, do it right, do it right, do it right. So they say, do it right or don't do it at all. And I truly believe that. And I think more people are doing it wrong than are doing it right. Unfortunately, I have a good friend that recommends me, and I recommend her. She's a photographer, and up until I think 2 years ago, she had done it part-time, and always kept saying, I just want to pull the plug. I want to pull the plug. I want to, and I want to do this. And one day she went to this business class, learned about running a business and budgeting and all of these things. It was a free workshop through a local chamber of commerce, and she left there and got her act together, pulled the plug, and has been running an incredibly successful business, turning away jobs left and right. But again, did her homework, learned what it took to do it right, and followed the steps.
That's amazing. What is your tell everybody your business name, where you're at, in case someone wants to hook up with you or become a preferred vendor, or have you as a preferred vendor at their venue, where you're at and what your website is.
So my name is Keith Carson. My company is Keith Carson Weddings, as is my website, keithcarsonweddings.com. I am in North Central Florida. I'm in the Ocala, Florida area. But in this area, I serve about 6 counties regularly. And now that may sound really big and a lot, but there's one county that's 5 minutes from where I'm at. There's another one that's probably 20 minutes from where I'm at. So they're all somewhat relatively close. Some are an hour or so away. But I go all over. I do destination weddings, Disney fairy tale weddings. I've gone to California, been to Branson, Missouri, and other places where, if people want to pay, I'll go there because I absolutely love what I do. I would not change this for anything.
Well, Keith, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon.
My pleasure. I always love what you're doing, and your new book is fantastic, and I encourage people to pick up a copy.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much.